Here.
Ms. Shakarian.
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Ms. Rashid.
Here.
Ms. Fryer.
Here.
And Mr. Parker.
Here.
Our first order of business is the regular board meeting minutes of March 18th, 2025. If there's no omissions or additions, I move for adoption.
Second.
Perfect.
Ms. Butts.
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Rashid.
Yes.
Ms. Fryer.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
Yes.
We do have a presentation today. I do not know if he is on yet. Oh, he is? Oh, thank you. So we do have a presentation today. It's about the state budget. Hello, Mr. Cosgrove. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Hopefully Des is on with us too. I don't see him, but
If you want, I could do some other things until he comes on if he's needed.
He's
No,
audio only, so I think this is,
oh, there we go.
Mhm.
he's trying to make it.
But we're ready to move though, Madam Chairwoman.
There he goes.
Let me know when you're ready to roll. Can you hear me? Des, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Good deal.
I don't know if they hear us though.
Tim, can you hear us?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Okay.
All right,
perfect.
very good, very
Good to
good.
go.
All right, so we're good. We can hear you. We can see your presentation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to talk today. I want to start. I don't think any of you have yet had the opportunity, the board members, to meet Des Bryant, who's the newest member of our team. Des has been working with us on the library issues. And Des, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Des Bryant. Like Tim stated, happy to be joining you all today and look forward to this discussion. Prior to coming to Cosgrove John Henry, I worked for the Chamber of Commerce, the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, for about 4 years. Did some time, about 4 years, 4 or 5 years in the House and Senate as well, and have been doing advocacy in the lobbying space for roughly about 15 years or so. And so, again, look forward to working with you all. And Tim, the floor is back yours.
Excellent. Trying to figure out my computer here. Sorry. So in any event, appreciate again the opportunity to speak with everyone today and have a few PowerPoint slides, but we'll want to leave plenty of time for questions and discussions. First, want to thank the director and Shanice and all those who participated in the events on April 8th in Columbus. It was a good day, and in relative terms, there was I guess decent news in terms of development. So with that, just very quickly, in terms of an overview to remind folks, obviously, it's the library funding is one piece of this budget. It's for us, it's everything, of course, but this is overall is a almost $91.5 billion in state revenue fund, state general revenue funds, and over $202 billion in all funds for the next fiscal year. So it's as you can imagine, it's a very big task that the General Assembly has had. And just in terms of the timeline, obviously the governor introduced the budget back first week of February, and we have really been going through, if you will, the House process, which concluded on April 9th. At least this phase of it concluded April 9th. And after the 2-week spring recess, the Senate will begin their official hearings on the week of April 28th. We anticipate sometime towards the end of May, there will be another Senate substitute bill, and then they are scheduled to probably conclude their work by about June 9th. It was, and at which point we'll then go into a conference committee. A couple of things, if you could go to the next slide. This is just thought we just for to kind of give you some context of some of the things that are going on in the omnibus amendment. This just gives you a little taste of how wide the variety of issues that were contained in the omnibus amendment. It was, hundreds. The summary was hundreds of pages long. So as you can imagine, it contained a lot of different issues. Now, again, the omnibus amendment, if you go to the next slide, the omnibus amendment, recall that the week before there was a substitute bill introduced. That is really what kind of got things going in terms of the libraries. And it was the General Assembly, or the House, had really removed, if you will, the formula that had allocated what they said was the same amount, but effectively had removed the formula and statute behind it that generated that amount, and then changed the distribution formula as it would be distributed among libraries. And that's what really, as you all are fully aware, created, particularly for us and a lot of our urban colleagues, a serious issue with respect to what it meant to us and the loss. So with that, Des, do you want to talk a little bit about how it transgressed through, or how it went through the process?
As far as the legislative process?
Yeah, in terms of, so the substitute bill came out, and then in the omnibus amendment, they, quote unquote, at least in part, fixed some of the bigger concerns that we had. And if you could just talk about that for a second, Des, that would be great.
Yeah, very briefly, I would say the advocacy that happened and transpired last week was amazing, and nothing short of amazing, with respect to folks from the library communities descending on our state capitol and advocating for this change. Obviously, during the omnibus, because of the advocacy and because of that push to encourage them to change that language, that's what we saw in the omnibus bill. And so we saw that change because of that drive, but we still have to keep that fight because we do want to ensure that the governor's proposed language is reinserted going into the Senate. And so that's what we're going to be fighting for. But at the end of the day, because of you all's push and advocacy at the State House last week, that is what really changed the tides with respect to what we saw in the sub-bill, the original sub-bill in the House. So I'll leave it there.
And just to be clear, on the slide that's before you, were on the first bullet under libraries where it said restored funding formula and levels. I think it probably is better said restored distribution formula and levels, because the underlying state formula that produced the amount of money in the fund has still been taken away. It's just a specific appropriation. So long term, that's kind of a dangerous outcome for us. And again, as Des points out, our goal now in the Senate is, as we've kind of fixed that in part, our goal in the Senate is really to go back to what the governor proposed. And recall, the governor proposed going from 1.7 to 1.75 in terms of the formula itself. The House, the reason the numbers are cut back is the House proposed going back to the 1.7% level and eliminated the governor's increase. So we will continue to advocate and work with others to try to get back to what the governor's proposal was. Next slide, please. This, I think, covered a lot of the stuff that we talked about. Next slide. And Director, too, I know that obviously you've been knee deep in this. Please feel free to add your comments as we go along. Anything you want to mention with respect to your day on the 8th and kind of what transpired there?
Well, it was very interesting having conversations with folks, and the positivity toward libraries among the folks we were able to speak to. Trustee Shakarian joined us, and I think one of the things she saw was the support there was for libraries, and yet the sense of among many of the representatives, Democrat and Republicans, feeling as if there was not much that they could do. So I know, though, that while I think the advocacy overall that we provided, it was the overwhelming support that folks saw for libraries that changed the formula, the distribution formula push that they had originally, and that ultimately changed and provided more funding for us, right? But not enough to move the PLF, back into the GRF. So there's still a lot of work that we have to do around that. Trustee Sharon, you have anything you want to add?
I think also from all of the legislators we spoke with, there was so much going on. It was so good, I think, for the libraries to have such a strong united voice, because with all of the other actions happening towards the omnibus, it was so good that we were able to mobilize our community, because there was a lot of other things happening. Yeah.
What happened to the library for the blind and print disabled?
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. I was going to just mention that line item, we got the static funding, which we have for a long time. It was a little bit of a panic because it was moved within the budget. And that was because, as you recall, the library for the blind was taken off the top of the library fund itself. So when they eliminated, and again, as you look at this next slide, there's that percentage. I'm sorry, the previous slide. That percentage in the GRF, that percentage calculation is gone. So what happened in the past is that you would have, they'd apply the formula against the projections, the budget projections, and then they would take the library for the blind off the top and distribute the rest. But since they adjusted that and eliminated it, they created a new line item for the library for the blind. So it is there and it is funded.
But is it static funding, same funding for the next biennium as the last?
Correct, yes. And we haven't, I've got to go back and look, but there hasn't really been an increase in that line item for a while.
At least 3 bienniums that I know of.
Yes.
So if the Senate and the Conference Committee don't come up with a return to the PLF, I wonder if there's a chance the governor will veto. Maybe that's what we should be lobbying for.
Well, a couple of thoughts. Well, first of all, I doubt candidly if he would veto that, because the numbers are still pretty close. And, what we would have to be concerned about is if he vetoed the appropriation, then we would have nothing. You see, I mean, that would be kind of a dangerous strategy.
That wouldn't be good.
But one of the things I want to mention, and again, as we look at this slide, to your point, it's important to keep in mind that, again, the underlying formula that drives the amount we receive is gone in this budget. We are not alone in that approach. They did the same thing in the education, on the education funding. And again, I think that's part of a longer term strategy to just kind of have flat out appropriation lines with those numbers not driven by any particular formula, but rather driven by the wishes of the General Assembly. And as we point out, that's less predictable. It's probably less stable. And there's a lot of reasons why we want to push to reinstitute that funding formula within the statute. one of the things, if you go on to the next slide, please. It was interesting when we went into this budget process. We talked about the changing dynamics in this budget process as compared to previous ones. And we talked a little bit, obviously the politics has changed. We have a new speaker, we have a new Senate president. There's more, I think, cooperation between those two chambers than what existed in the previous General Assembly. Just given the dynamics, it's candidly, the Democrats have a little less leverage because of the way the speaker was elected. And the other dynamic that has been, that we have to deal with is just the uncertainty with state revenues. And when we went into this budget preparation, the administration was sending signals that they were concerned, obviously, about budget projections and where we were. I think I mentioned this when we last met, but the state actually, now the numbers that came out in March were pretty good and over expectation, but the state is collecting, at least as of February, close to $1 billion less in revenue than it did the previous year. So, but I think there's been some optimism because the receipts have been coming in, again, as I said, in March, a little bit healthier. We'll see what happens in April. But one of the things we need to be very careful of, concerned about, watch closely, is typically as you go into a conference committee, the Governor's Council of Economic Advisors does projections with respect to revenues. And that can have an enormous impact, if you will, on the conference committee. Sometimes it's really good because their revenues are better, and sometimes it's bad because the revenue projections are less. And I think that one of the things that we all need to be concerned about is, with everything going on in the national economy, what are these folks going to come back and say? And what impact does that have on revenues and subsequently us? So that's what we have to keep our eyes on. But in the meantime, we need to just be aggressive about pursuing going back to the governor's proposal. But again, since the bill, we've made some good progress, but there's more room to go, and there's a lot of danger ahead. And one of the things I would say, if there's a benefit to the way they are doing this, and we've experienced this in the past. You may recall in the past, sometimes, I think it was under the Kasich administration, they essentially they basically did the same thing, and they locked in the number. They left the formula in the statute, but they suspended it for that current budget, and they just appropriated a fixed amount. And in that particular budget cycle, what happened was revenues came in far below projections. So we actually benefited from the fact that we weren't relying on the formula. Before this is all said and done, the formula may feel like a safer option to them, depending on what the revenues are, but that could work against us in terms of actual receipts. But so it's going to be complicated. There's a lot of different moving parts. And we're just going to have to remain very vigilant, and again, commend Shanice and the director for the work that they've done in terms of being in Columbus, coordinating our activities. It's been good, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Tim, about one other question. Our percentage, the idea of a formula, it was a result of the repeal of the intangible personal property tax, which sort of gave the libraries protection from biennium battles like this. We're never going to get back to having a set aside like that was, but what's the actual history of, were we the first to actually get these formula ideas, or what's the history? What are the other groups that have lost or are about to lose their formula, percentage of general revenue fund, or whatever formula you want to call it?
Well, the only other fund that I'm familiar with that is triggered on a percentage of state receipts would be the local government fund. And that was not changed. Again, we could talk about why that is, and the director we had some good conversations about some issues that transpired in other parts of the state that perhaps aggravated the situation, but we can talk about that later. But the only formula that I'm aware of that is strictly driven by state receipts is the local government fund. Now, there are other formulas that are used to fund line items. Like, for example, higher education, there's a formula in terms of how they fund individual universities. That was not changed. But probably the most consequential change was the school funding formula. And that was essentially suspended. And what they did is they did the same thing with the libraries, and they just essentially said, we're going to give you what you got with a little bit more. Now, it's complicated because there were other issues outside of the line item, whether it has to do with property taxes and stuff like that, that were pretty harmful to schools. But in terms of the formula itself, what they essentially did was they just eliminated the formula and appropriated a line item, and that was it. And they took away it's called the foundation formula. They just took it out of the statute. So that suggests to me that they're going to, as they look into the future, they're going to rethink how they distribute that. But at least for now, the formula is out. And again, the Senate will have its take on this, and we'll see what they do. The other thing I should mention, it's very, very important to us, and I think probably, at least at this stage in the process, have not been affected, but all this discussion on property tax reform. You have undoubtedly seen the proposal that has been put forth for school districts, which will significantly impact the revenues they receive at the local level. We have thus far been shielded from that. And again, I think the Senate may have their opinions on I'm sure they do have their opinion on property tax reform, but at least as we sit here today, the property tax reform proposals have pretty much, as far as we can see, and again, these are complicated things, have pretty much we've avoided any consequences there at this stage of the game.
So clearly the our friends on the Senate Finance Committee are important to talk to, in addition to our delegation. But Tim, do we know who's on conference committee yet?
No, we won't until after the Senate. I mean, although we can pretty much predict, right? I would assume, obviously, Jerry Serino is going to be on it, the Senate Finance Chair. Representative Sweeney, I suspect, will be on from the Democrat side, but we don't know for certain yet.
Mm-hmm. And after last Tuesday in Columbus, which was really terrific, and we appreciated all the work Tim, your team did, and it was great to have such a contingent from our library. But I know staff is working to prepare a social media toolkit for us. I believe you want to share a little bit more about that, because for us to mobilize ourselves and our patrons in this, once the omnibus now is passed.
Yeah, well, we have a whole section of this under Shanice's discussion later, so I'll hold it off. She has some paperwork for you guys to receive as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, having those type of tools as board members, and I know our patrons want that as well. That's really helpful, and it sounds to me, Tim, that the best thing we could do right now is continue to contact our friends in the Senate, most especially the Finance Committee.
And I'd like to quickly add, when you are engaging, when we start to engage and have been, but when we start to engage the Senate members or targeted Senate members, the messaging and how important that is as well. Because currently, some of the messaging from a certain part of the aisle is that, we're allocating more funding that you received in the prior years, and you should be happy with that. Whereas that is not the case. In that, if the proposed model is implemented, the appropriations moving forward could be subject to change at any point in time. And because of this proposed language, as of right now, libraries are set to receive about $100 million less than what the governor has proposed. And so that is hugely problematic. But combating some of the proponents of this particular language is going to be imperative with the talking points that you are developing. And so we would like to definitely be a part of contributing to those talking points to ensure that we suppress any instances of this current proposed language is not taken into consideration in the Senate.
Thank you, Tim. And,
Well, no, the talking points.
I do, yes.
Okay.
And do the advocacy later?
Yeah, we'll do the
Okay.
advocacy
All right.
later. I just wanted to.
Yeah, just making sure we're truthful, as we're explaining how over time, this is more of a loss than a gain. So to your point, Des, we want to combat that sort of narrative that this is actually an increase when it truly is not longer term.
The $100 million less than the governor's proposal, you just mention every time.
True, yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I'm starting to see some legislators start to leverage their social media platforms to use that rhetoric, and they are convincing some folks in their respective communities that this proposal or this proposed model is the way to go, and we all know that that is not the case. So just want to ensure that we are combating that narrative moving forward.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Des.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're now gonna, there are no communications this month. For the board's report, I'm just gonna go over a couple things that I did myself. I attended Advocacy Day, which was hosted by Overdrive with the director. There was a lot of good information, just talking with the local politicians and just explaining to them, how important it is to keep the funding for all the libraries. And it was very nice getting together with other library directors and such. So this was actually pretty good. Did you want to add anything to that one, or?
Well, I mean, I can take
don't wanna
this time
steal
to
your
thank so
thunder.
many of the board members over the past month for their work with us on
Yes.
EAT program,
It was great meeting Mandy Knapp.
Mandy Knapp.
And
Yeah.
seeing also Casey Armstrong and Carlos Latimer and
They were all,
Anastasia,
yeah,
Diamond Ortiz, and of course, they're all running their own libraries.
they're doing great work too. And just, I did attend Dancing Wheels yesterday, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with these young kids. Even watching the pre-show, which I thought was a little bit above their age group, but they sat there so attentively, and the
Yeah.
show was phenomenal. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
oh, it was
It
wonderful.
was so packed with people.
It was great.
It was great, and so the food was good. One of the biggest things, I'm so happy how much we're maximizing the usage of MLK Branch. I
Yeah.
just think it's like the best
Hmm.
place for the diversity of events that we're doing.
It's a lot.
The one event I really wished I was able to make it to and I couldn't was the Black Panther, I believe, was
Yeah,
he
the
the
orchestra.
illustrator?
Yeah,
or-
orchestra.
Orchestra. Oh my gosh, just the pictures alone, I was like, I wish I was able to make it. Just the space at MLK is just so fascinating. You could do such a wide array of things, and
Really.
the Eat Party was so fun. All of the food was delicious, and what was really, really great was to see, I believe it was probably Ashley, as well as with MLK staff, the display of the Arabic books that they got, especially new ones, and there was a lot of kids who love Harry Potter. So for them to see Harry Potter in Arabic, they were just like, I don't think I ever thought this could exist, and
Aw.
it was really cool.
But two more things I have. One was I was at the Westside Market shopping because that's what I do. I missed you, John. I was there the same day. But wow, I had to call the director or Stephanie that Monday. I said, we now occupy like 4 stalls, or we did that day. And I was like, And there was a lot of people there. I remember one, Marina, I'm always there. I'm like, I know she's super busy. I didn't see her that day, but the Westside Market was packed and there was other stuff.
Thousands of protesters.
Well, it was
across the
before that. I
street.
went early. I'm not a newbie. I'm an oldie. We know if you're gonna go on Saturdays, you
Go
get there early.
Yeah.
That's for the tourists that come later. So no, I'm a regular. So I did go there early, and it was nice to get my shopping done and be able to talk with staff members. And Shanice, I'm not trying to take your
Well,
thunder.
I wanted to speak to the West Side Market
Oh, he's
because,
reading my
because you
stuff.
asked me that question.
I did
on,
call and ask.
on like, are we still, once they finish, are we going to have these stalls? Are they going to take them away? Are they going to make us pay? And I saw Marina yesterday, and I said, like, are we going to be able to have the stalls? She said, we're going to have at least 2 stalls. And I was like, are we going to have to pay? And Marina looked at me. She said, Director, I got you. Right? What is this? She said, you know me,
Yes,
I'm
and
not going to let us have to pay for something. I'm like, all righty, Marina.
That was awesome.
I was like, so I think we're still good for, being supported and being able to be there even once they've gotten all the construction done.
But you know what the nice thing too, though, there was staff there passing out information about the funding and the cuts and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool
Yeah.
too. But
We also had a huge crowd at Music at Maine. It was supposed to be 3 sisters and there was only 2, but the crowd was overflowing and sitting in the stairs behind.
I wanted to go to that. But I don't want to steal your thunder, Shanice, and this is my last one. Library Giving Day was April 1st. So I don't know if all the board members have shared the site with their friends and family and stuff. And how long is it going to be on our website, Shanice?
I think we're gonna have it up a few more days, so if you haven't gotten gifts in, please do.
Yeah.
But we-
And this year they could win prizes.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, if you still have time to share it with family and friends, just a quick reminder, we could use your help, especially with all the things that are coming and pending. And so, but I
There's a game
do,
with the director at stake.
Yep.
yes. So
Or-
I thank everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Anyone else want to share anything?
No, I just want to say I like that was when I was sharing it, I was highlighting the different things. You can get I think it was a special meeting with Christine from the Food Network.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
going to
those
tell
are-
Michael. Michael has them. Michael, those are.
Oh,
That was pretty cool. I did see those.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my favorite season. So I was very excited for that.
Yes.
This is really more actually than it is me, but here's the flyer.
We're just a team here. Melanie, did you want to share anything else about Legislative Day? I do appreciate everything. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted.
No, I think a lot has been shared already, but it was wonderful to see the variety of our own staff who participated. Ken from Ohio Library for the Blind and Print Disabled was just a wonderful advocate. We had our fellow from Georgetown who jumped right in on a meeting, and so many others. Jacqueline was there. Thank you, especially for the Science of Reading connection. In a couple of our meetings, having Jacqueline highlight how we are supporting our state leaders who are interested in that. So it was, I think we had probably one of the largest contingents too, which made me very proud.
Nice.
Yes, we did. We did. And by far the most diverse.
Yes.
Perfect. If anyone else would like to add? Director?
All right, so we'll start with your story starts here.
Thank you.
So, good afternoon. I want to give a little context about today's story because there is no one who loves Cleveland like a Clevelander. And I moved back to Cleveland from northeastern France in January of 2024. And I had been following Cleveland influencers on social media for years before that. And as a matter of fact, when I discovered that I was working with one of my heroes, John Skirdick, I fangirled so hard. So when I started with the foundation last year, and at the occasion of Library Giving Day, I reached out to every Cleveland influencer who I had admired during my time away and asked them if they would be willing to use their platform to support the library. And then I also asked other staff, do you know anybody who has a platform? And one of our fabulous staff members, Prince Foster, he produced a name. And it turns out that that name is someone who is pretty well known. And so I reached out to him again in January about attending our Martin Luther King Jr. branch opening, or campus opening, because he grew up going to our Huff and Martin Luther King Jr. branches. And so I wanted to share with you his story. We sat down in our cookbook collection, and you'll see why in just a second. But this is someone who, while he is a Clevelander and a proud Clevelander, has 8 million followers around the country. So, Brian, why don't you hit it for us?
My name is Stefan Johnson. I am a voice. My name is Stefan Johnson. My name is Stefan Johnson. I am a voice actor and local food reviewer.
Yo, y'all seen these burn-ins on TikTok?
We always look at
Just out of
John
spite, I
Malcolm.
refuse to call these burnt ends.
The first time I came to a Cleveland Public Library, I think I remember being around 5th grade. Me and my buddies, we would draw Dragon Ball Z characters. So we'd go to the library and print out pictures of Broly, Goku, Piccolo, literally 10, 15 pictures at a time every day, like 60, 70 pictures a week. We'd go to the library to print out and draw them.
Now, what's amazing about this is that we got access then to his audience and the eyes that he has. And so his followers were leaving comments about their experience with the library. And so, although my eyes are terrible, we have people thanking him for using his platform to support the library. And so we are going to be reaching out to a lot of these people and saying, hey, you have a library story, we would love to hear it. But one of my favorite comments on here is, I think I still owe money to Cleveland Public Library. So that is Your Story Starts Here. That is Stefan Johnson of Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, thank
And
you.
well, you could tell why he's famous.
Oh, we missed that part of the video. So Stefan is a voiceover actor. As you can tell, he's got an amazing voice. And secondly, he is a food reviewer. And so he gives very blunt, sometimes not quite positive reviews of places he goes. So, and the other thing that's really exciting is that our IT department is planning an absolutely phenomenal content creator camp with him at the end of May. That's going to be at MLK, as all wonderful things are these days. Yes, and so he's going to be welcoming kids from the city who are going to learn about creating content just like he does.
I saw the how he featured and I was saying how he's doing that on MLK's grand opening. I saw him from upstairs, and I'm a TikTok scroller personally, so I see his videos all the time. I followed upstairs. I was fangirling completely. I have a picture,
Totally same.
and I sent it to my whole family chat, and they're like, "Where did you find him? How did you find this guy?" If you ever want to just find funny crumble cookie reviews, those are his best reviews.
Yes.
But he tries even the craziest food things that people should not try. And he takes one for the team. He is hilarious. I'm very glad that he's continuing to support the library with the creator camp, because I think especially with youth, there's so many different ways to maximize technology in positive ways. And I think it's really cool that he's still sticking through and doing other things
Nice.
with us.
Yeah, it'll be very good. It was very
Thank
interesting
you.
going to talk to him and saying, "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?" Yeah, so he's got a great voice. So secondary, and the only other thing I'd like to bring up is our staff, especially our union staff, reached out to the city and to our councilwoman, Ms. Jenny Spencer, who's a big supporter, and they put together a resolution of recognition for us for National Library Workers Day. So yes, great. And I'll just read 2 lines from it. It says, whereas the Cleveland Public Library serves as a cornerstone of knowledge and opportunity, providing essential resources, services, and programs that empower individuals to live, learn, and thrive in the 21st century, be it further resolved that the Cleveland City Council is especially pleased to join with the citizens of the city of Cleveland in observance of National Library Workers Day. This council commends the efforts of library workers and expresses their appreciation for the essential role libraries and their staff play in enriching our communities and our nation. So kudos to our staff for reaching out to the city. Thank you to the city for thinking of us, and we appreciate all the work on that behalf. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Director. At this time, because there was no joint Finance and Human Resource Committee meeting, I move to temporarily suspend the regulations of the Board of Trustees of Article 9 and 10, requiring referral of resolutions to committees to consider the following resolutions.
Second.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
We're now moving into the Finance Committee report. Trustee Corrigan?
Yes, resolution, Exhibit 1 is a resolution to accept gifts for the month of March. Whereas the board receives gifts of money, library service materials, technology resources, and miscellaneous non-monetary gifts from the generous citizens from that time. Resolved that the gift report for March 2025 be accepted upon the conditions connected with said gifts in accordance with Section 3375.40K of the Ohio Revised Code. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 2 is a resolution to accept the grant from the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation to transform the Fleet Branch. The Broadway Slavic Village neighborhood where the Fleet Branch is located faces significant socioeconomic challenges from disparities in education and income to housing affordability and health outcomes. Whereas the library strives to address these challenges by transforming the Fleet Branch into a flexible campus and community hub library, including an interactive children's space designed for children from infancy to 12 years of age. And whereas the library's goals for transforming Fleet will require philanthropic investment beyond what the library has budgeted for the Fleet Branch and the facilities master plan, and whereas the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation has expressed an interest in providing a substantial gift with the required matching contribution by the library in support of the library's transformation of Fleet. Whereas the Jack Joseph Morton Mandel Foundation is a supporting organization of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, was established by the Mandel brothers. The MSF is controlled by the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, governed by a 5-person board of trustees comprised of, among others, the president and CEO and the chair of the board of trustees of the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Foundation. Whereas owing to the Mandel brothers' deep roots in Cleveland, the MSF functions as a public charity with targeted special interests, whereas the library administration, in recognition of them and their most generous gift offer, desires to negotiate and execute a gift grant without delay. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board authorizes the executive director and CEO and the chief legal officer to negotiate and enter into a gift agreement with the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation with the provision that the library administration report back to the board with the details of the agreement once they are finalized. So moved.
Second.
And of course, this foundation is already helpful in the Glenville
Right.
redo, so we must have made them happy about how we did Glenville. Kudos to the facilities master plan and the people helping to execute it, because this is nothing better than domino effect on philanthropic stuff.
But
So,
also terrific for the Northeast Ohio Broadcast Archives. Is this potentially our first major gift for that?
Well, this one is the Fleet Branch, and then
Oh.
the next one will be Neoba.
I'm jumping ahead. So.
Right. So all good. Kudos to Shanice and her staff, the folks and her team. Yes. Everybody but Joni. Oh, we love you, Joni.
so moved.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 3 is a resolution to accept the grant from the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation in support of the Northeast Ohio Broadcast Archives initiatives. And there we go. Whereas the Northeast Ohio Broadcast Archives is a historically significant primary source collection consisting of approximately 250,000 audio and video recordings created by television stations WKYC, WEWS, and radio station WGAR from the 1950s to 1989, documenting newsworthy events in Northeast Ohio throughout the Civil Rights era and beyond. And whereas the board passed a resolution on December 19, 2024, expressing its complete support of the administration's goal of taking the necessary steps to accept the broadcast archives into our collections. Whereas the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation has expressed an interest in providing a substantial gift with the required fundraising match towards the Library Foundation's fundraising efforts in support of the Broadcast Archives Initiative. And whereas the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Supporting Foundation was established by the Mandel brothers, who also established the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Foundation, one of the nation's leading philanthropic funders of initiatives relating to the humanities, the foundation of human aspiration and human experience, with the belief that, quote, exposure to the humanities expands an individual's knowledge of their heritage and other cultures, nurtures the capacity for empathy, and encourages deeper critical thinking, imagination, and communication skills. And whereas the library administration, in recognition of that foundation's most generous gift offer, desires to negotiate and execute a gift grant, therefore be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director and CEO and chief legal officer to negotiate and enter into a gift agreement with the Mandel Supporting Foundation with the provision that the library administration report back to the board with the details of the agreement once they are finalized. So moved.
And can you remind us what your estimate, Michael gave me an estimate, what this is gonna cost us?
Do you want me to come up?
Yes.
So when we hired Linda Todich of Los Angeles to prepare our study, I asked her to budget out over 15 years. So this includes everything, staff, space, legal services, and over 15 years is $25 million. Wow. It's a lot of money, but if you look at what it costs to keep a branch open for 15 years, it's similar. So the costs for the first 3 years, 5 years, or maybe 5 years, is about $8 million. And that is what it costs to start and to get the equipment and to move forward. The costs go down over time unless we add another project. So
we have some, Michael has made sure that I cannot announce anything about how much is being donated or anything of that nature. And probably it's bad luck until we get everything signed off on it, everything gets situated. So to do that, but not only are we going to be meeting and signing things with them next week, but we are bringing in the Library of Congress, who would like to help support this program and work with us on it. So unless
I don't think it's telling tales out of school to say that we're working toward an announcement.
yes,
And the director may say when we plan to do it if he wishes.
May 10th.
Yes.
Want to get the maximum bang for our buck to be able to make a big announcement about all of that. And also we're working through the paperwork on signing for the Library of Congress agreement so that we can make that announcement as well with them.
Wow.
Love it. Thank you.
And I'm probably the only person in the room
Yeah.
Probably the only person in the room who understands this reference, but Dorothy Fulton is smiling.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is why it's really touching. The Mandel Foundation is so
Yes.
interested. It intersects with, I think, lots of their interests, and she is a special woman in broadcast history. So.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
And the second,
Oh, second.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
Ms. Enriquez.
Yes.
Ms. Rashid.
Yes.
Ms. Fryer.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
Exhibit 4 is a resolution to renew the maintenance agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for support and to update licensing of the enterprise ERP system. Whereas in March 2006, the library entered into a system agreement with Tyler Technologies for maintenance of the library's Munis ERP system, now referred to as Enterprise ERP, and continues to expand functionality of the library's ERP system, implementing modules to improve efficiency. Whereas the system includes financials, human resources, payroll, and general revenue, the library needs to continue support and to update licensing. Whereas the effective date of termination of the current agreement with Tyler for the support and to update licensing of the ERP system is May 16th, 2025. Now therefore be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director, CEO, or his designee to execute all necessary documents necessary to renew the maintenance agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc., subject to the chief legal officer's approval for the period May 17, 2025, and ending May 16, 2026, at a cost not to exceed $97,857.36, with the expenditure being charged to the general fund account 1301053-53360 computer maintenance. So moved.
Second. Is this comparable to the annual fee from a year prior?
Yes, it's per our original system agreement we have in place, and it's a 5% increase annually.
Thank you.
And the second,
Second.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Rashid,
Yes.
Ms. Fryer,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 5 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to agreement for the design services for the new Martin Luther King Jr. branch. Whereas the librarian J. Kurtz Architects Limited entered into an agreement in the amount of $1,435,210 on November 15, 2019, pursuant to authority granted by this board on June 18th of that year. And whereas this board has since approved 7 amendments to the agreement with J. Kurtz Architects, both expanding the limited scope of the services and increasing their fees. The most recent such amendment was approved by the board on September 19, 2024, which increased the architect's total fees to $2,325,110. And whereas the administration has determined that it's necessary to further amend the agreement with J. Kurtz to allow for additional services, including design work needed for final permitting of the building's monumental signage, additional graphics for the second floor gallery and building directories, and extended construction administration services required for systems commissioning, final installation of ceilings, and remaining construction and punch list work. Whereas J. Kurtz has proposed providing the additional design and construction administrative services as described in this resolution for an added fee of $32,920, which would increase J. Kurtz's total fee to $2,358,030, which fee this board finds to be fair and reasonable. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Cleveland Public Library authorizes Executive Director, CEO, or his designee to negotiate and execute an amendment to the agreement with J. Kurtz Architects Limited in an amount not to exceed $32,920, the expenditure being paid from the project budget previously approved by this board on September 19, 2024, as shown in Exhibit A to this resolution, and in such form as is approved by the library's chief legal officer. So moved.
Second.
John, I feel approach and address. So in my usual way, where are we as percentage of project costs?
13%,
Okay.
which is higher than we'd like to be.
Right.
We like to keep it in the 10 to 12% range. MLK project presented a lot of extra complexities. This
Right.
board knows.
What would you say was the greatest reason for that increase in percentage?
The time extensions
Mhm.
associated with the project. So the construction administration is one of the specific fees that make up the total architect's agreements. The longer we extended the construction period, the longer the architect had to extend their effort in the construction phase.
And contractors with J. Kurtz includes the design partners that they had, correct?
It does. It does.
And if, in terms of that total, 2 million, how much of it went to, for lack of a term, the design architect team?
We don't have, we're not privy to all the subcontracts the contractor, the architect has. So they have a mechanical engineer, they have an electrical plumbing engineer, they've got a civil structural engineer, they've got a graphics designer. Those are all within the J. Kurtz fee. And this particular amendment, and this will be I promise, the final amendment to the architectural contract on this project. About half of the costs in this amendment are from the graphics and brand designer. And that had to do with, as described in the resolution, the monumental signage, the directory signage, some of the intersection between the experiential branding that the library brought to the project with the design specific for MLK that was within J. Kurtz's scope. So that's required this final adjustment.
So I just wanted to confirm, this is all very MLK specific, or are there learnings from this that are applying then to like the balance of, first phase into second phase? Like, is it appropriate for this all to be an MLK?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all 100% of these costs are on the MLK project.
And I guess,
However, to Trustee Shakarian's point, many of the things that we've learned, as far as like the map,
Right, that's what
right, those are
speaking to,
things that
exactly.
we'll take from MLK and use in every one of our libraries.
They are. So
Yeah.
just a little more specifically, we had graphics design included in the architectural agreement for MLK.
Right.
On a parallel path, we were working with the marketing team on experiential brand guideline standards for the entire library to put across all of our FMP projects, and boards approved some side
Like what we
agreements.
did, I
with-
think, last month or the month prior is what I was referring to. So this is very specific to the MLK. Design needs an MLK to implement our standards and
Yes,
what we
ma'am.
want to see, like
Yes.
the map. Okay, that helps.
Thank you.
so moved.
And the vote, Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Rashid,
Yes.
Ms. Fryer,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 6 is a resolution to ratify amendment to agreement for landscaping services. Whereas on May 6, 2024, the library entered an agreement with H&M Landscaping Co., Inc. for outdoor landscaping services at all the library locations, an amount not to exceed $50,117 for base services of a fall and spring cleanup at all locations. Additional services requested upon request at specific rates. And whereas the term of the agreement expires April 30, 2025, the administration recently entered into an amendment to the agreement on March 27 in order to extend the agreement at the current pricing for an additional year ending April 30, 26. The executive director hereby requests that the board ratify the amendment to the agreement entered into with H&M Landscaping, Inc. in the amount of $50,000, $117 for the base services of fall and spring cleanup at each library location, with additional requested services to be billed at the rate set forth in the original agreement. Now therefore be it resolved, the board hereby ratifies and approves the amendment to the agreement entered into with H&M Landscaping Company, Inc. on March 27, 2025, with the above stated amounts for landscaping services at all library locations. So moved.
Second. So this doesn't make any mention, I was wondering who's in charge of those 100 serviceberry trees that Marina was telling us about, for example, are getting planted, and that's not mentioned in here, and this is just talking about spring cleanup.
Yeah.
But I wonder who does the planting of those trees?
The ones that went in MLK, the planters are out yesterday. That was all library staff. And that was through a grant that Marina had put us
Yeah,
on to.
cool.
Right, so that is separate from this.
Yeah, I figured it probably was separate, thank you.
Does this include the cleanup at Memorial Nottingham, the sensory
It does.
garden?
It does.
Because I know the one time I went there.
So you
And
said-
then my other, I'm
Oh,
sorry, Alice.
I just wanted, you said MLK. I can't figure where there's any ground.
There's not, they're all planters.
That's what I was wondering.
Right, they just went in
And
yesterday.
Is
so-
that between the parking lot and the front, the east side of
If
the
you can
building?
picture it, there's a small retaining wall
Yeah.
between the Fenway's parking
I was
lot.
looking at it the other day.
Mhm.
So, yeah, thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You're fine. And Carnegie West, is that Novak Park, is the city maintaining that, or are
The
we
city
still
seems to be
doing it?
doing a little better with that.
Beautiful.
Are we
spring
doing
flowers
any
there
of the
now.
cleanup there?
We do the
You said
cleanup,
that-
the beds immediately around the building, everything outboard of the
So we
sidewalk.
just blow it out there or whatever?
But
I'm
you-
teasing, John. You guys do a great job. I was just asking.
But there they got lucky to have the neighbors planting all those daffodils.
Yeah,
and
that was
crocuses
last year or
and stuff,
something, wasn't
yeah.
it, Alice?
And we've had a number of
And
those.
hostas.
We got tree grant approval for Woodland, Huff. I'm trying to think of places where we've gotten some landscape enhancement through grant funding. So we
Uh-huh.
definitely go after that when we can.
Thanks. Good.
Thank you so much.
So landscape. I
Mr.
didn't vote
Carey?
on this, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Rashid.
Yes.
Ms. Fryer.
Yes.
And Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 7 is a resolution to amend the project budget for Eastman Reading Garden improvements. Whereas on September 19, 2024, the board authorized the library to enter an agreement with Penn Ohio Electric for the purchase and installation of architectural lighting in the Eastman Reading Garden and approved a project budget of $756,930, which consisted of Penn Ohio Electric's base bid of $687,930 plus a construction contingency fund of $69,000. Whereas the installation of the lighting is nearing completion, expected to be completed before the library's main centennial celebration on Saturday, May 10th. And whereas in order to mark the momentous centennial celebration and to complement the lighting improvements of the Eastman Reading Garden, the library administration desires to make certain enhancements to the garden, including seasonal cleanup, the addition of extensive plantings, repairs and improvements to the irrigation system, and the replacement of damaged granite drain covers and pavers. Whereas the library's property management department obtained a quote from H&M Landscaping in the amount of $52,000 to perform the seasonal cleanup, additional plantings, repairs, and improvements to the irrigation system, and a quote from Cleveland Marble in the amount of $21,715 to remove and replace the broken granite drain covers and pavers. Both vendors have indicated they can complete their respective scopes of work prior to the centennial celebration. And whereas the library administration recommends the board amend the budget for the Eastman Reading Garden and Lighting Project to include the costs of the work proposed by H&M Landscaping and Cleveland Marble, thus allowing the library to complete the above work in time for the centennial celebration. Therefore, be resolved, the board hereby approves the amended project budget for the Eastman Garden improvements as set forth in Exhibit A of this resolution, which expenditures shall be charged to the Building and Repair Fund 401 using project code 17901. Be it further resolved, the Executive Director of CAO's designee is authorized to establish an additional library contingency fund for the Eastman Garden improvements in the amount of $10,000 for the expenditure being charged to the Building and Repair Fund 401 using project code 17901, and to make the expenditures and pay the costs resulting from changes and additions to the contract or scopes of work which may be made in the future by the library. The library should include such expenditures in its monthly report to the board regarding the lighting project contingency fund. So moved.
Okay. So explain about this. I can't picture where there's a garden space at Eastman.
No, this is the Eastman Reading Garden at main campus.
Oh, you're talking, okay.
Right.
Yes, of course.
So, and this is a little different because both the proposed expenditures for the beds refreshing, really kind of reimagining, and the repairs to the granite pavers are below the threshold we would normally bring it to board. And they're also outside of the lighting contract that we're almost done on. But I felt like it's all of a part of prepping the Eastman Garden for the 100th anniversary. And it is quite a bit of money that we're putting into the garden. So I just wanted to kind of provide transparency on that. So as we're close to completion of the lighting project, and they look amazing, look forward to showing that off. Thanks to Tiffany and everyone who worked on that project. Talking with the director, we're working in-house on getting the fountain up for this season. We just kind of recognize, well, the beds could use some work, the irrigation system could use some work. There's actually some of these pavers are almost to the point of a safety trip hazard. So we thought, let's just get this all together with the lighting project, show you all the expenditures we're making, and have the garden look great for May 10th.
Mm-hmm.
None of the cracked things involve the donor stones, or doesn't include donor stones?
No, I don't believe so. They're all away from the donor stones.
Okay. And in the violin metal circle around, and those things, are those in decent shape, and are they going
And
to?
They
the
are.
letters on the fountain. Wasn't there a letter that?
There was a broken letter
Yeah.
that we repaired last year, thanks to Michael. He's always good
What
with
other that we're getting fixed now?
Is that part of this budget?
That's the letters not.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
fountain, we're just doing our routine prep work to get the pumps going, the system working to get the fountain turned on. The pavers are on the ground.
Yeah.
And then the beds.
Okay. And we are going to get the letter fixed.
We will.
Thank you.
So moved.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr.
Why
Gordon?
can
Yes.
have,
Ms. Rodriguez?
yes.
Ms. Rasheed?
Yes.
Mr. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 8 is a resolution to purchase filters for the main library, Lewis Stokes Swing and Lake Shore Building's HVAC equipment. Whereas to continue the maintenance of the library's HVAC equipment, property management is requesting approval to replace the pre-filters, secondary filters, and final covering filters and air handling units of the main library, Lewis Stokes Swing and Lake Shore buildings in order to preserve the quality of air, protection of patron staff, and library materials. Whereas the property management department received the following quotes to provide replacement air filters Hebner Airfield at $138,229. Air Right Service Supply, $146,748, and Ketchum and Walton Company, $165,704. And whereas all vendors were asked to match a provided list of filters and specifications, whereas property management recommends the purchase of filters from Hebner Air Filter, as they are the lowest quoted price, meeting the library specifications. Now therefore, the board authorizes Executive Director CO as designated to purchase pre-filters, secondary filters, and final carbon filters from Hebner Air Filter for a total cost not to exceed $138,229.63. The expenditure being charged to the general fund account 1210052-52230 maintenance supplies. So moved.
Second.
And John, these filters then what's their projected life?
So it's every 2 to 2.5 years. And this was we budgeted, and this is about the ballpark we budgeted in. Always feel good when you get bids coming in fairly close to each other. Hefner's someone we've done business with before. And I'll just like to clarify that this is for the filters only. The installation is all by the library's in-house maintenance mechanic shop. So we do the installation, we buy the filters.
And the question I always ask in terms of the current state of the art about preserving materials, where are we in the scale of institutions? Are we one of the best? Are we in the middle, or where are we?
In terms of the lifespan or in terms of?
No, in terms of the quality of the air for preservation of materials.
Oh, God. Michael yells at me whenever it gets too humid or too warm. But no, I like to think we're doing a good job. We're not regularly doing air samples on a regular basis. We do sample when any concerns are presented. But yeah, no, we're certainly within our temperature and humidity set points that we've established in our building automation system.
Okay. So moved.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
But to that point, Trustee Corrigan, I certainly will put John and Michael on an examination of where this library is as far as the air quality for our.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay, we'll bring that back to you.
Were they check-
For those who don't know, I had the pleasure of being in Los Angeles Public Library, one of the national conferences, and was just appalled to find at what is a world-class library. It's smaller than ours, I might point out, but in terms of numbers of materials, old books that were clearly deteriorating because of the conditions they were in. And when we built this wing and when we redid the main library, we kind of promised the public that we were going to be good stewards of maintenance of these materials. And so Michael and John have always taken it to heart. So my shot at that, John, was because I appreciate their caring about it. So thank you for all you do to make sure that we meet those standards. The next is Exhibit 9, the Fourth Amendment to the year 2025 appropriations. Whereas the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.40 provides for the amendment of appropriation measures when necessary, where it's now deemed necessary to amend that 2025 procedure to comply with the amended official certificate of estimated resources from the Cuyahoga County Budget Commission. And whereas the aggregate of all appropriation classifications does not exceed the total amount submitted to the Budget Commission, now therefore be resolved that the sums indicated in the attached Fourth Amendment to the year 2025 appropriation schedule be approved. So moved.
Second.
And it doesn't look there's anything major to comment on.
We're just appropriating $809,770 in our building and repair fund. And that consists of the $83,770 for the Eastman Reading Garden improvements that you just passed, and additional $726,000 for the property management's calendar year maintenance capital needs.
It's been moved and seconded.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
The balance of, The next set of the official reports that don't have to be voted on: the fiscal officer's report, the report on investments, the report on conference and travel expenditures, the report on all vendor expenditures, the report on expenditures made on the owner's contingency fund for West Park, Eastman, MLK, Rockport, and Glenville, report on expenditures made from the owner's contingency fund for the high-density shelving project, report on expenditures made from the owner's contingency fund for the New Main Library Staff Breakout Room project, report on expenditures made for the owner's contingency fund for Tech Central renovation project, and fees paid for legal and consulting services from the period January 1, 25 through March 31st, 2025. Those are reports A through I, and they are part of the record and have been made available. That concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Trustee Corrigan. And I'm sure, that John and Michael will take care of the air quality. And I'm sure the LA Librarians probably has updated their standards as well.
Oh, yeah,
So
no,
from the
yeah.
last time you were there.
No, it's some years ago. but
Yeah, I'm sure.
It
So,
was still a shock.
yes, but no, I'm sure it's a lot better. And I'm going to make a stop there when I move my daughter out there.
That's great.
But I'm sure it has now been upgraded too. But I thank you.
And the other thing to point out is that Malcolm Holzman, who was with Bob Mattis and the design architects for this building, was part of, after Los Angeles Library fire, part of building their large extension. So I was really curious to see whether his standard of design was also being applied to the maintenance of materials. So that's the link that we have.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful library.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to go see it. But thank you. We're now going to move into the Human Resource Committee report. Trustee Shakarian.
Thank you. I present to the board the regular employment report, highlighting the new hires, transfers, resignations, terminations, and retirements. So moved.
Second. Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And we have a retirement recognition citation, Exhibit 11. A citation has been issued for the following staff members on the occasion of their retirement: Jose Santana, 9 years in safety and protective services; Glenn Harris, 18 years as custodian; and Deborah Hazink, 35 years as project coordinator. Be it resolved for the citation for the above staff members, presented by the Board of Trustees in appreciation of their faithful and dedicated service given to the library, be recorded in the minutes of this meeting, and be it further resolved that the citation be sent to them forthwith if they are not present at this meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And if I could just say something, I mean, we have had, I love Jose and Glenn, but from the time I've been here, Debbie Hazak was served as the president of the board. And we've had our share of battles and our share of great discussions, but I have appreciated the fact that she loves this library and she has worked on behalf of this library for those 35 years. So I want to just give kudos to Debbie. I'm going to go down and catch her and have a conversation about how we should be presenting and supporting those who have given over 30 years of their service to the Cleveland Public Library. So just wanted to take that time to thank her for all of her efforts.
Please accept that on behalf of the board as well.
Yes. And that concludes the Human Resources Committee report.
Thank you, Trustee Shakarian. We're now going to move into the community service report. Trustee Fryer, please.
Report J is a monthly activity report. Noticeable uptick in attendance in March, likely from all of the programming that was mentioned at the top of this meeting. If nothing else on that, I'll turn it over to John for the building status update.
Just a couple of things in addition to the resolutions that went to board this month. Regards the potential gift from the Mandel Foundation for the Fleet project. We want to make sure we're moving expeditiously on that project. So we're actually advertising for architectural services already. It takes us 2 months to get through the request for qualifications, shortlisting, interview, and selection to recommend the board. So if we want to bring a selected architect to board before you go on summer break, we need to start now. So we've done that. We're actually in the Plain Dealer this week advertising for an architect for the Fleet project. Garden preps we talked about with the Eastman Reading Garden resolution. I'll just mention, I'm not sure if Nicole is still here, but the library shop had a soft open earlier this month, last week. And so the paint, carpenter, and maintenance mechanic shop has been working at the library shop to get it ready for the grand opening in May. So that's what we've been working on downstairs.
And what are its hours for this soft opening time?
So I'll say we did a soft opening on opening day.
Oh.
Because there were going to be so many people down here, we wanted to make sure we do that. And then we're going to do the opening on May 10th.
Okay.
Right now, though, Nicole is here because after the board meeting, if any board member would like to go over and see the shop, she will take you over. So we'll work through that afterwards.
That's it for me, unless there's any questions.
I did have a question about walls and groundbreaking.
Oh, thank you.
I was
Yes.
thinking the same thing.
There's a lot going on with walls.
Okay.
I think we have an executive session.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Yes,
thank you for,
we do.
yes, thank you.
Thanks so much, John.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to Shanice for the advocacy task force update and the foundation update.
Sure, and I'll be brief. As it relates to the advocacy task force, a lot of what was said was from our lobbyists. As Director Thomas said, we are taking this week to develop materials, fine tune our messaging, and really define what our call to action is. Our core audiences are our patrons, our internal staff, and obviously equipping the board with what you need to be helpful as we advance our advocacy outreach efforts.
Yeah, the Senate returns next week. They'll be returning next week, so they're out on a break currently.
And just thank, again, Trustee Shakarian and all the staff who were able to come to Legislative Day. As it relates to the foundation, in addition to some of the fundraising resolutions, thank you all again for supporting Library Giving Day. I would like to thank the team, especially Shirley. Our goal was $20,000. We raised over $23,000. So we surpassed our goal and we're still taking in money. So thank you so much for your support as it relates to that. John Lang took my thunder with the library shop in Nicole, but I just wanted to just give kudos to her she just hit the ground running, coming in and getting that shop. The director gave us a real tight deadline to get up and running, and she did it with the help of many people in this room.
We have a shop again?
Yes, we do. You're going to get a tour after this.
Oh, good.
Yes. And so Nicole is going to give a tour, and thanks to Joni and all the work that she's doing. And then our focus is on partnership dollars. It's a big part of the foundation's fundraising goal. So we're going to be out meeting with organizations to be annual sponsors for our 100th anniversary.
Can you announce Parker Hannafin now?
What I think he just.
Well, yes, I can. You want to?
No, you go ahead. It's yours.
So thanks to the work of Joni and the team and everybody, we were able to secure a gift of $100,000 from the Parker Hannafin Foundation. So it's going to go to digital literacy, education, and programming. So we're excited about that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
They're just taking all your stuff today.
Toot your own horn.
I'll turn it over to Ashley for the diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging.
Yes, thank you. I think we talked about everything we had going on this month. So I'll just give you all some numbers. So on Saturday, April 5th, for our celebration, we peaked at 240 people in attendance. And on yesterday, Monday, April 14th, we had 215 K through fourth graders here from Mary Queen of Peace and
OLA.
And so they attended the performance from Dancing Wheels, Daring to be Dumbo, which was a presentation about childhood bullying. They had lunch. They had a tour of the library, and of the 215 students that attended, 110 students received their very first library card. So a huge thank you to Public Services for providing tours, helping with lunches, getting all the new students their new library cards. Big shout out to marketing for taking pictures of all the students with their very first library card. So thank you so much. Thank you to property management for the setup in the morning of and after. And then I just want to remind you all that this Monday, in partnership with Village of Healing and Ohio Legislative Black Caucus, we will be having a movie screening, The Color of Medicine, the story of Homer G. Phillips. We invite you all to come down. It will be in the lower level auditorium at our Lewis Stokes wing, and it will start at 6 p.m. We'll also have a number of health and community resource tables, and there'll be an opportunity for marketing, for networking with a number of health and community members. And then obviously you all have your nice flyers or
Yes.
cards for Christine Ha in celebration of Asian American Heritage and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and also in celebration of 100th at Maine. We are thanking our community with our Thanks a Brunch celebration with season 3 winner, Master Chef Christine Ha. So please share the word, invite your families, come out. She will be doing an interactive cooking session, and it will also be live streamed. She'll also do a book signing, and she will tell us a little bit about her story and her journey to season 3 Master Chef.
Hey, Ashley, just quickly, Friday I was downtown. There was a bunch of finely dressed young men and women leaving Maine. What was that? About 6 o'clock.
There were a lot of people doing weddings.
They were like, it looked like they was prom.
Oh.
Were they doing prom here, or were they came from?
They were getting photos. It was Magnificat's prom.
Oh.
And they had dates from multiple schools.
Oh, like multiple schools are coming here for their pictures?
So
The girls had dates from other schools.
Oh, the girls had dates. Okay.
yeah, no. So here's what we have seen
I just-
a
wow.
kind of movement we have seen an increase in the number of kids who are coming in here and doing their prom and homecoming photos here because
that was late.
well, it is, there's always been this kind of photo thing, and we've seen it with our wedding photos that are being done. But folks love the stairs, and they love taking photos in the library. And then when we had archive, right, a lot of people would do their photos here, and they would do it. And so it's the same with the band. Folks are taking photos with the band, with the robots. So, Trustee Pryor, if I could just have one moment, if I could have Erica come over, who Michael just tried to go and talk to. Just Erica has, and she is wearing her Girl Power sweatshirt.
So on last Thursday, we had Tomi Adeyemi as our keynote speaker for Girl Power. This is our 11th year. And thanks to a generous grant from PNC, so grateful for them. Not only did they host a breakout session, but they were able to contribute to Girl Power. So usually we're in 2 different buildings. We're in Lewis Stokes Wing and we're in Maine. But this was the first time we were able to celebrate together. They had more than enough space. So we had roughly 700 people at Girl Power over at the Huntington Convention Center. So it was a lot of happy tears. Tommy was amazing. Everybody was excited, and we got a lot of great feedback. So, Director, thank you, because
She goes like, I want to leave the library. We don't have the room. I was like, nope, we're not leaving the library. But she talked me into it, and only Erica gets to talk me into things. So.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do you have any for the board members or their, or some
shirts?
Yeah.
Yes, I can pull shirts for you guys. Yes. Yep. Thank
We
you.
will be representing.
Hey, when you were
Yes.
thanks, Erica. And Erica,
Thank you.
attendance last year was 500-ish.
Yes.
Oh, was it?
But and when we did that though, I mean, because we always end up turning away schools. Yeah. And so we were in both buildings because we don't have one area in the library to host that many people. And we would live stream, our AV techs would live stream over to Maine to even make that possible. So the teachers were so grateful, and the girls. And last thing, we had a group of students they're seniors, and they took a photo. They've been coming to Girl Power for 4 years, and this was their last Girl Power. So they made sure they took a special photo, and I took a photo with them too.
That's awesome.
That alone would make me cry.
Thank you, Erica.
know what schools were represented?
Wow.
Yeah, Erica, could you provide us a list of?
Yes, I can share that. Perfect. And that concludes the community services.
Wow, thank you. I can do new business if you can.
When you mentioned
Thank
the-
you, Trustee Fryer.
Mhm.
That is so cool. How many years was that we've been doing Girl Power? Oh, it's 11? Oh, perfect. Thank you. We're now going to move into new business. Trustee Rashid, please.
So we have Exhibit 12, Resolution to amend the regulations of the Board of the Library of Trustees. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Cleveland Public Library has adopted regulations governing the procedures of the Board of Trustees, which were revised on 14 separate occasions since their adoption, with the most recent revision having occurred on March 16th, 2023. And whereas the Board of the Library of Trustees has determined that it is necessary to amend various sections of its regulations as shown in Exhibit A to this resolution to 1, allow for meetings of the Board of Trustees to be held virtually, 2, to permit trustees to attend meetings by virtual means, 3, to allow board president to designate a trustee to vote by proxy for other trustee committee meetings, and 4, adopt a public library trustee ethics statement. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Cleveland Public Library hereby amend the regulations in the manner set forth in the exhibit attached to this resolution and incorporated herein by reference. So moved.
Second.
Perfect.
And Brian, this is the second reading, so we're abiding by our own regulations about not amending it a single meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Ms. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Ms. Fryer?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Trustee Rashid.
Thank you.
We do have the Honorable Reverend Pamela Pinckney, a Palestinian and author, here with us. Welcome. Good afternoon.
It's good to see everybody. And I see a whole lot of girl power in this room today.
Yeah, starting with you.
And I was sitting there, I'm not familiar with you, Trustee Fryer, but you're gorgeous. And it's so good to see a naturally brown-skinned woman just being natural with your natural hair, and that just like really moves a lot to
Thank
me.
you very much.
And you're very beautiful in your spirit. Everybody, all the women in here are just like, I love seeing you all. I wanted to, first of all, thank you for what you do. And I wanted to remind you about the Ohio budget.
Thank you.
We're going through some major changes in this country, budget financially. One of the things I've been working on is trying to get a contract for the Akron Metro transportation operators, because they still don't have a contract a year and a half later. And we're going through some things, and I'm concerned with the people who broke in and stole our cash machines out of our libraries.
Thank you.
How much we lost, what we're going to do about it, how we're going to avoid it from happening again. Anytime we need police, we have a situation that we need to be looking at our budget. As you know, when I wrote this book, as I was sitting there, I was thinking about you all, and I'm so glad that through all the storms that we've been through in this library in Cleveland and in this country, you've chosen to live and maintain life for this library. I don't want you to stop. I want people to know that literacy and library are the necessary option, not violence, not drugs, not homelessness, not other alternatives, because the more you read, the more you succeed. When I wrote this book in 2016, I had put some of my life experiences in here as well as world issues. Well, someone changed my cover in 2020 didn't ask me anything. And my book's been being sold all over the world, which is a good thing, but it's not a good thing because I didn't give people permission to sell my book. And they're making billions of dollars off of it. And it's bothering me because you all took the time to spend the money to buy my book. And matter of fact, Sister Rodriguez, here's one that I'm returning to you that's been missing from the library.
Oh my God. Yes, now we could get it back into circulation. Thank
I
you
have
so
another one. I'm
much.
going to get you. I have to find it again.
Okay, you're gonna get it. I'm sure you will. Thank you.
I would like for you all really sincerely to consider the Ohio budget hearings that are taking place right now. Send somebody to represent. I don't want them to take money from our libraries. They're taking money from places that's crucial for people to live. They're affecting Medicare. They're affecting our educational system. They're affecting the things that they shouldn't be allocating so much funding into, like all this alcohol and tobacco and guns and that type of thing. That's where they're allocating funding to because they have put a fear in this country and in this city and in this state. I want you to please do written testimony, public testimony, do what you need to do to bring money to this library so that you can keep your computers running, you can keep your services running. We need you. And we need you, as the songwriter says, to be alive.
Thank you.
I have not lived except for the opportunity of my opportunity to read, to write, and to be the successful author and person that I am. And I love Aaron Mason, who's missing from the piece.
Will you tell him I said hi?
We will tell him that you said hi.
And I couldn't, I had to stop using the recording studio because my voice is too big.
Uh-oh.
It was beyond the room,
See, look
almost
at
outside.
that. Yes.
I love you all. If you all
Thank
can
you.
find somebody to help me to address the fact about my book, I would
Okay.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We're gonna
Good
keep
deal.
that in mind. Thank you. We also received many messages in support of public libraries and public library funding after the House budget was introduced. We appreciate everyone calling or writing to their representative to show how important Cleveland Public Library is to their families and to their communities. These personal stories made all the difference. We did respond individually to each and all of the messages that we received. And the one interesting thing for me was, we do get some messages sent to us every month, but this is the one month that we did get the most, and it was all positive, and it was all in support of the library. So once again, we thank everyone, and thank you for putting the word out as well.
I love you all more.
We know.
Yeah.
Thank you. We love you too. That's all. That's okay. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh. At this moment, I move to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel regarding the purchase and sale of real property.
Yes.
Well,
Are we going there or are we staying here?
I'm gonna stay here.
Stay here. Not yet booked his hotel for LA. So we need to
Oh,
get on
I'm
that.
sure they make room for him. Where the
Stephanie, I told
tickets
you where
are
the
at the
monitor
door,
is.
so we'll sit down. We just sign in at the door.
Yeah, they'll have your name at the door.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then I need to see if you have just a couple minutes.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm just trying.
The storms.
Second.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes,
And Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
perfect. Calling the meeting adjourned.
Yep.
Okay.